My name is Claude Dossier. I've been elected to the Town Council of Chasseneuil-en-Berry since 1995. I've been mayor since 2001, and I've also been the president of the Philippier Water Syndicate since 2005. The advantage of all this is that my colleagues and I really have to immerse ourselves in experiences that are very useful for the life and organization of our local communities. Well, you're really putting me on the spot here because I wouldn't be able to tell you everything. What I know is that we looked around, and I believe it was through connections. It was one of my colleagues who was an engineer near Grenoble who told me about it, who had seen it in someone's hands. They handed the file over to me. It was entirely by chance back then, specifically around late 2010 or early 2011, that we managed to stumble upon a solution. Perfect for our citizens, it's considerably cheaper than other market options. If we're talking about water, I must acknowledge that when we stepped into this role of responsibility, it was absolutely essential and entirely natural to try to set everything in proper order and begin completely anew from the very foundation. Starting over meant tackling both the plant and the networks. The networks, well, they were what they were, but the main issue we faced, both in the plant and in the networks, was that our water had a hardness of 330 parts per million, meaning a significant amount of limescale, which, naturally, caused the equipment of individuals to malfunction, particularly their toilets and washing machines, resulting in frequent interventions and repeated calls for maintenance and repairs. So a solution had to be found for this situation, which was, after all, a burdensome state of affairs and entirely detrimental to our households. To keep moving forward on the same footing, we explored several potential solutions. One of them involved removing the limescale directly as it exited the plant. We went along with all the involved parties to visit existing installations. It's not that it was bad, it was cumbersome, and above all, very costly. And around 2010 or 2011, we were made aware of a system that didn't have the complication of installation and maintenance I just mentioned. So we looked into the AQUABION. We first tried to make sure that there was no addition, no chemical addition of any kind in the water, since we knew from the start it wouldn't be acceptable for our customers. And it turned out that since the system was fully compatible with the water's potability, we could attempt to move forward with it. To give it a shot, we still took some necessary precautions, taking the time to call up all the facilities in the east of France that already had the system up and running there. With this type of equipment, there were military facilities, private households, in fact, there was a bit of everything. We called everyone, and everyone responded in a funny way. It was around 2011. Everyone responded in a pretty amusing way to say that in the end, it worked or it didn't, but in some instances it actually did work. The question is why it failed in certain cases. Well, by investigating further, we discovered it failed because it was improperly installed. Having this knowledge, we decided to move forward. We then went ahead with placing an order and installing it. But to ensure that the decision was technically sound, the installation of bypasses was requested to meticulously monitor and confirm whether or not limestone deposits would gradually build up on these surfaces over time. It was a straightforward and efficient method to ensure that no particular problems would arise during the testing of the AQUABION. In a very real way over all these years, everything worked. It's an observation, not an opinion or support. Bypasses serve as proof. The photos show no deposits had formed. Everything is fine. The exit of the water tower is completely clear, which wasn't the case before. Before, there were constantly large amounts of limescale at the bottom that the farmer had to remove. And also in the town of Bonchetien, just below our facilities. And that meant ongoing efforts from the farmer to remove the limescale deposits scattered around. We don't deal with that anymore, at least not in a way that feels forced or burdensome, which negatively affects the proper functioning and the peace of mind of the households. So it's effective, and the system is now running very smoothly. We expanded these installations across the entire network, which was reformed, re-centralized and streamlined from multiple municipalities. To keep it simple, we started from the idea that the AQUABION could be effective over 7 kilometers based on the advice we had been given, which we took into account, while also taking into account the lifespan of the equipment and its presumed duration of effectiveness, which naturally needed to be tested over time. Today we've reached, I believe, 13 years and it's still working. The clearest proof is When we first arrived, calls were frequent and justified, as limestone was damaging the equipment. But now that issue has been completely resolved and eliminated, except in some very rare cases. These cases were limited to very specialized equipment and situations which, as stated, were extremely rare. That's precisely what we've observed over the years. We can draw our own conclusions now. When it comes to functionality, cost, and overall satisfaction, there's absolutely nothing to criticize. It's just a perfectly satisfactory and ideal state of affairs. To put it simply, I think they could do what some of our colleagues here in the department have done. They came here, we showed them everything, we had the bypasses opened, showed them, displayed everything that was being done, everything that was working. We showed them our intermediate management invoices, it's public accounting, there's nothing secret about it. There's nothing more to say, what you see is enough, there's no need to argue. When it's not going well, it's not, and when it is, it is. That's really all there is to it. You just have to see it clearly. That said, I fully understand the concept that it's worth visiting an association that's already well prepared. That's definitely a solid and effective approach. And once again, having moved past the decision stage, this bypass method allows you to check the state of the pipes whenever you want, as often as needed. That's the ultimate proof. There you go. I'd say that what is not explicitly forbidden is permitted. I'd also add that, according to current legislation, AQUABION does not contain any additives, in any form and from any source. It does not change or add to the water, it leaves water untouched, just stops limescale buildup. That is all there is to it. It's a purely physical phenomenon. So authorities may approach it with a sense of interest or curiosity, depending on their own perspective. But it's not something that breaks the law, and that's crucial because it provides us with clarity on how to proceed and what goals we should strive to achieve. Ah yes, you are absolutely correct. That's something I was just on the brink of completely forgetting. So actually, back then, we focused on this topic and this approach. The core question was also beyond the cost, beyond the technology, to remain within the framework of protecting the essential natural elements we rely on to live. And you're absolutely right. This goal, which was also a declared aim of our association, was achieved in this way. It wasn't something that was originally planned. It was something that was retroactively added, and it turned out to be a fortunate discovery because we did not have to add anything further. I remember that the AQUABION function of limescale neutralization at the exit of a plant had nothing comparable, whether in investment or in operation terms, on the market. It is truly something that, in relation to sound financial management and technical results that I consider mandatory, is a solution I find well balanced and entirely appropriate for structures like ours, even for the larger projects as small, medium or large, because in fact I believe we have a maximum efficiency ratio for an extremely reasonable financial commitment. It is absolutely essential to visit an existing site, to observe firsthand how it functions, to make sure all the tests currently in place are thoroughly verified, and to personally witness a system that operates seamlessly without any issues. In reality, this is the most effective way to determine oneself and to reach an objective decision. It's absolutely not comparable. An investment, I am amongst those who say, financially, an investment is always something you swallow. You can always find a way to manage and absorb it, but not the operating costs, especially when combined with other expenses, which over time can completely suffocate you. And it truly was, for us, a form of financial suicide. At least it certainly left us unable to properly manage all the plant's facilities and the rest of the network. It was a logical decision, so we went ahead with it.